Hello everyone, welcome to another video. So today it's the 28th of March 2025. We're just coming into, well, just hit the 9 o'clock time of the UK. So I'm going to talk about some things that happened yesterday so we can discuss. So these are all the levels I set out yesterday. I set out from this level is where we're going to have the most reactions after 2 o'clock for a buy or a sell. Now, what I did yesterday was I went for this sell, but unfortunately I got taken out. So the actual trade was this, which did hit, it would have hit in total, what's that, 51 pips. So, but there was no entry, and there was an entry on this, and I'll just talk you through it. So, yesterday we had this from London, pushed all the way down here where our previous lows reacted from, and then we had this reaction. Now, this is a news candle, and then we had this bearish movement. So, what I was looking for is, are we going to get any reactions off this level to go down? Which we did, and that is why I decided. So I'll talk you through. And then adding on to that, we had this big price movement on Wednesday, at the start of the day, which got filled. So I thought, right, it's been filled, we've been swept, we've come down, and we've been overall bearish. So that's why I did that. So looking at this, and adding on to that as well, the DXY was never in this area. It was actually right up here. Here it was. So we'd kind of use this as support. So anyway, going on to that trade, I can talk you through it. 5 minutes, and this was it. So what we had here was the news candle 12:30. We used this support, pushed through, found the reaction down at 1:45, and then when we got here and started going up, I thought, right, I put a limit in. Now in hindsight, what I've been doing a lot more recently is entering manually, and it's been working. So maybe I should have just waited and seen. But what I did is I just left the limit, because we went from 29.40 all the way down to 29.22 with a target of here. So it nearly hit 50%, and we got reaction. And usually what happens is, well, not usually, but what happens is, if we are in like an overall bearish, we're taking out all this to go back down again, to grab liquidity and come back down. But it actually completely reversed. And even if I wanted to do a buy from 29.40 up, there was no entry on that unless I entered manually. So it's just one of those, and that's the thing with trading. What happened. I put my thing, it was actually at 15 ticks, at 55. So I give it way enough room. But yeah, unfortunately it just didn't hit, which is fine. It's just the way it is. So that's the first loss in over a week. So technically that's kind of due one. So moving on to today. So we're on Friday. It's the last Friday of this trading month. Now, as you can see, what we've found now is support here. Now, what I've been finding is when the trade that I've gone for here, the short, if I am wrong that day, the move usually happens, and I will say usually because it does, the next day. So I'm like a day out. So I'm going to keep these exactly the same, because I think from previous experience over the years that we could be looking at a short of this same spot or around that area. So I'm going to keep everything valid here and maybe look for this trade. Another thing that I have found is when there's news at 12:30, it speeds up the time for the next session by the half an hour that it's done the news early, if that makes sense. Oh, sorry, not half an hour, the hour. So usually it's at 1:30, but it's at 12:30. So everything's a bit sped up. So normally you'll see the moves start earlier, and that's what's happened with this. The actual move yesterday, it wasn't from 29.40, it was from 29.20, where we've had previous resistance before. That was the move, and that started at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock it start. Well, sorry, the actual move from the reversal started from here. Bam. So, sorry, it started at 12:45. Now normally that'd happen, you know, before 2 coming into 2. So we've had this manipulation for the real move. Sorry, I've got myself mixed up a bit then. So this was all the manipulation, then this, and then the real move. That's what you kind of got to look for. So I got caught in that because I didn't remember that myself. So if there's news an hour before the technical open, which is 1:30 UK time for US, bear in mind the move might be starting to happen like an hour early. So you've got to watch that manipulation, which is that, and that's the real move. So looking on to today, what we're really looking for is, are we going to hold this area, or are we going to start finding some more power in the dollar? Now what dollar's done is it's held this area. We're approaching this area 9 o'clock. Yesterday at 9 o'clock we were down here, so we're slightly further ahead, which means first of all we need to use this as support, or if we start to go down we'll see moves up. Now this area here has not been broken into. We just had a tap into it at 3 o'clock, which is where we found this kind of bigger move here at 3 o'clock. See what I mean? It's all correlated. So yeah, we'll be looking for the same trades today again. I'm leaning more towards a sell, but don't hold me to that, but that's just what I'm leaning more towards. Again, here we got this. So as I've explained in other videos, it seems like the euro is about 1 day ahead of the pound in terms of movement. So yesterday we had this, but we didn't break that area. We swept it, but we didn't break and close above it, which means this is kind of the ceiling. So unless we get a break and close above here, I'd probably be looking for sells around the same spot again, which is 108 dead. We've hit it once, 7 o'clock. If we're in that trade now, we'd be quite far into it. Let's just have a look. We'd be 25 pips in. It's easy to say that in hindsight, but what I'm saying is it is a valid area, as you can see from all this. So we need to see where we end up around between 1:30 and 2. The news today, we've just got a 12:30 news. So remember what I said, just watch out for that 12:30 news to see if we end up anywhere in front of where we thought we might be by that time, if that makes sense. So yeah, we've got these areas 108 and 107.4 is our zone. If we close above here, that means this would need to be bearish around that time, so we'd need to do a sweep and coming down. It's unlikely that it's going to be here unless the news really pushes it down, but this is the real zone of where we know we're going to be bullish. If we're approaching this zone, all these are going to be bullish. That's just how it goes. So we need to see that. As long as we can see that this is where we've got pretty much confirmed sells. Apart from that, it's a bit 50-50. Thirdly, let's look at this. So this is a level marked up yesterday as a high. We didn't really get anything yesterday. This was a potential buy zone, but as you can see, it just didn't really do anything. No reaction at all in terms of going back up. We just pushed straight through. So maybe leaning towards a sell from here now, if we continue the bullish movement. And if we are going to do buys, it will be from here with this as a alert, just to see how far we're going to go. So we've got 63.1 area as a sell, or 63 area as a buy if we get support. We've not got support, it's more than just consolidation. So I'm going to be looking for this down to here. NZD. Here we are. So if you look at this here, 3 o'clock yesterday, where we put this, that would have hit. As you can see that, we've got a sweep. I'll just zoom more into it. Excuse me. Trying to find this. Oh, yeah, there we go. So this was 3 o'clock, and there would have been an entry model on this. I don't tend to trade these pairs, but I do always monitor them all. But I might start looking a bit more. But there's a perfect entry model, really, especially if you trade fair value gaps as part of your trading plan. So as you can see here, 3 o'clock's a bit of a later one. We took this sweep. Could have even entered it there, really, but that was a bit too early. And this is why you don't enter trades too early, because price always returns back, usually, to where it started and then goes down the proper move. So here's a fair value gap. If you put your entry at structure of the 5750, it would have been a pretty decent position to enter. I always enter off whole numbers. That's a 6 pip stop loss. Now it's easy to look and say, "Oh, I'll do that." You would have more than likely had a much bigger one. But even if you did like a, let's say a 2-to-1, which is what we got off for, which is 10 pip. 10 pips is all right. That's the lowest I'd probably go. Yeah, you're looking at that really. Let's move that up a bit, but you get what I'm trying to say. So these levels are still valid. Zoom out. But yeah, here we go. So we are down here now, which is interesting because I've not really traded from here in a while. So I'm just going to have to zoom out a little bit more so you can see what's underneath that, which is this. Now, as I spoke about, I think it was in the last video, there's this gap to fill on here, on an AUD as well, but this is from here this time, because we've not quite decided whether we're up or down. We've made this low and this high, and we've been trading in this zone since the kind of the start of March, and look, we broke out of it once and then back in it, we broke out of it once and then back in it. So this is the zone. So what I'd be looking at potentially today is, bear with me 1 second, shorts, as long as we can continue being bullish on the dollar. It all boils down to that. So we maybe can get a buy from here, that could potentially be valid, and then sells also from the same position if we get reactions. Now we are going to get some news, so it's going to make it a bit easier for us to see, but I don't know if that's, yeah, it is a red folder, but it doesn't usually make, I've not known this to make a huge difference. So yeah, there's where we are on these. Next, gold. Now, a bit frustrating yesterday on gold because I called out the exact position. You can see it there. If you look at my last video, I said these three zones, there's going to be a buy from them. Now, it made it very easy for us to determine that because it just smashed through every single one. Then we got this sweep. I set my limit and it just didn't come back to it. So that's just trading. It is annoying when that happens because you just see something happening. But this is on the 5-minute look. There was just nowhere to enter. Even if I put a fair value gap entry here, it just wouldn't have done it. So it just shows how powerful structure is on the hourly and the 4-hourly, and how much better, in my opinion, buying from whole numbers of key levels rather than fair value gaps, because I do kind of think fair value gaps are profitable, but also they're just hit and miss. Like, you can set a gap and it just goes straight through it to another one. But if you're actually looking at numbers, whole numbers and structure, I feel that it's way more profitable. I know I do mention fair value gaps in this, but that is really just so people could see. But most people will go, "Oh, well, look at this fair value gap, it's reacted off it." But then, I mean, I'll look, I might be wrong, but let's see if it reacted more off a whole number than that. So you get 3065 is here, 3066 is here. So it's, I mean, you could say it's reacted off 3036 rather than that fair value gap, you know. It's the $2, $5 and $5 levels. That's what I trade off. So you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, which is 0. So you've got two $5 levels there either side, and then one in the middle, and then 66. Now 66 or a 6 and a 5, I'll probably more lean towards the 6 over the 5. if that makes sense. When I'm trading at $5 levels, I'm more talking about the tens, zeros. Um, but yeah, as you can see, I mean, I didn't know before I did it, but it's reacted off a whole number, 366, not just the fair value gap. It just happened to be a fair value gap. So that's why you can get better entries, because instead of thinking, oh, I need to find a fair value gap, blah blah blah. Well, what you can more do is think, right, I need to find a whole number where it's reacting from, and that's where all these have come from. Which, as you can see here, look at that, 3048 again reacted, bam, straight up. This is a new high, 3060. Like, it's just better in my opinion. Now we are in a full-on new, I'm going to remove all these drawings, new territory again, and the one that's screaming out to me the most as the next resistance zone is around here, which is going to be the 30. Let's just have a look. Let's say 3058. 3058 is the next zone for me, because we've got this, this, and this. Add it all together. So I'm just going to put that, see where we end up. There is also this zone here, 3066, which we can mark up just to see what happens. And then we've got the top here. Now we don't really 3086. We'd rather not trade from here to the top. What we'd rather do is trade from here to the middle, or even to here. This is 80 pips. So we could get a 40 pip movement, 40 pip stop if you wanted. Or if you wanted a bit of a bigger one, you're a bit more bothered and you want to put like a 60, which is fine. In gold it's alright, as long as you're hitting 120, you know. Which is still, look, we're only to there, we're going from this to there, and this is today. So let's look at these for potential buy zones. So we've got 3036 and 3058. Exact same thing we need to look for as it happened yesterday. We need push and clear up movement. It's okay to enter manually if it pushes through like a breakout trade, but you just got to make sure you've got that experience behind you, because you don't want to get caught in a sweep for it to go right back down. So you just need to know. There's certain it's hard to say really, but there is a lot of in my opinion, intuition that comes into trading, where you just see the way the market's moving and you can just get a feeling that the decision you're making is higher probability. And I know a lot of people will say, oh yeah, you can't just feel trades, but people who have traded for a long time can understand what I mean. But if you are new to trading, I wouldn't recommend feeling it, because a lot of the feel that you have is actually more of a want. That's what you've got to determine between a feel and a want. Because you can think, oh, I want it to do that, see, I feel it might do it. Might is a key word. But that's not the right way to think about it. It's more kind of having a feeling that, you know, everything's kind of lining up. We've broken this structure, we've come back to the original highs, we've swept it, and the dollar is down, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool, I think I'm alright to enter this manually. Let's go. So, now we're on USD CHF. Same again, same shit really. It's this was yesterday. This is where we marked this zone. We didn't really have anything happen. We just had this sweep. I said that this level here would be the support zone. I mean, it was by 4 pips. So it just keep the same really. 88.2 and 88.5. There may be a midpoint zone on here for a potential support if we do have a bullish dollar, and that will be around here, 88.3. It's only 10 pips, but don't want to do too many structures. But if this pushes up and then down, this is probably going to be where it's going to be at. So if we are looking for buys, we're going to be looking for something along the lines of this, or maybe a little bit higher if we get a sweep. But obviously remember, we go for 2 to 1s, but this would mean it's making a new high from the 17th of March. You got to remember that you don't always want to go for like maximum structure. But yep, here we go. So what's the time is that? 4, 5. Yeah, so this doesn't count because I already had that marked. So this was if in case we came down. I did have another structure marked, and I'm sure it was here. but we didn't get much movement at all. So what I'd probably look at doing now is more of this kind of thing, really. Uh, what's that, 39? Yeah, I'll be looking for more of this now, push down. We are approaching this area here, which is 143.3, which may be a bit of resistance, or actually I'll probably put it here, 143.4, just to be a bit more, because this is like the neckline of that. So I'll be looking for buys or sells from here, really. I don't trade this pair really ever, but I have done in the past, but I'll still mark it up. So we've got 143.4 and 143 dead for shorts. Right. Again, I've been unsure on this pair for a while because it's moving into 100 pip zones and then just bouncing in between it. So we're up here right now. So it all depends on the dollar. It all depends on the dollar right now, on where we end up. So we have had this reaction here a couple of times at 143.4. So if we are going to look for buys, because we need to kind of hone in on a zone a bit more, we might be able to look at buys up to here with a 2 to 1. But equally, we can look at sells from here. But I'd be targeting this bit, this area. That's what I'll be doing. So that's 150.4 and 151 targets for both zones on that. So we've got 150.4 for buys and 151 for sells targeting the buy area, but don't switch it into a buy, if that makes sense, after you've hit TP. And now we're at this, so we are slightly ahead of where we would normally be in terms of knowing where this could end up, because we're already approaching this area, which is a sign that we could potentially keep going up for the day, or it could be a manipulation to take this out and go down. So we've just got to keep an eye on that, but we're in a good position because we're already out of structure. So as long as we keep an eye on that, we'll be able to see, right, if we're using it for support, if we're still using its support at 2 o'clock, we might get little moves up and then a sweep and then back up. So that's what we've got to look for. So 104 is the next key area, and below that's 103.8. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. If you need any videos doing on any specific topics, just drop a comment what you'd like to see and I'll happily make it. But yeah, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.